Tampa Bay Lightning, New York Islanders, Game 7. We've got your game summary coming up. All right, Paul, this one was maybe not as grippingly thrilling as a couple of the other games in this series, but Tampa got the job done.
And I believe we both predicted that. We said that Tampa had the horses to get it done, and they did. But it was like watching paint dry.
Yeah. In a previous broadcast, I had commented on some ugly ways to win, and you made the point about a win being a win, and Tampa Bay can get the wins accomplished in different ways, and should Montreal Canadiens fans be a little bit worried about that?
I would say so. I said the other night that I think Tampa matches up best for what Montreal's trying to do, but then you watch the way Tampa played tonight, and they can run and gun you, or they can shut you down. They just get in the way and do that collapse thing that is makes hockey so boring. It's almost like watching soccer. I mean, I compare it to the England-Wales game that I caught about 10 minutes of a week and a half ago. Snooze fest. I hope the final isn't like that, but if it is, so be it. 1-0 games every night.
Yeah, well, or if the finals like the series between Tampa and New York was, that you might have one game that's that's like that, and then suddenly the next game or partway through the game it just turns gears, and suddenly you have something much more wide open, and I hope that Montreal has the gear shift capacity to be able to keep up with that type of change.
I think Montreal has one line they can turn the gear up, but I don't. If it's going to be run and gun where one team blows another one out, it's going to be Tampa. Just they have so much firepower. I guess it comes down to whether Kucherov, how bad he's injured from this. We were both saying before that he didn't look as good tonight as he did early in the series, whether that's a bit of series fatigue or he is playing injured. Don't know.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting that the commentators, I was watching the broadcast on NBC, and the commentators on that broadcast were talking about looking at Kucherov and saying, hey, he's not looking too bad, and you can see he's really working through it, and keeping active even during the commercial timeouts to try to be sure that he's staying limber. I wasn't seeing a guy that was staying limber. I was seeing a guy who was really looked to me like he was in pain, and I don't know if Kucherov's going to be 100%. He spent 60 and a half minutes on the ice tonight. Hard to judge from that. That could just be the way the shifts work out, not necessarily a conscious decision. I guess we'll know we'll know after a couple of games with Montreal whether he's actually getting lower ice time or not.
Yeah, and if he's out, then it brings that cap argument back to even again, where there were some disgruntled Islanders fans talking about how Tampa Bay was way over the cap because Kucherov didn't play in the regular season, and of course the salaries don't count against the cap in the playoffs. So while it's not illegal, it does give Tampa a significant advantage. So maybe we take that out of the equation. But I'd rather take Kucherov out of the equation if I'm the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, I mean, there are two sides to it. It's the short term, whether you what you want to see for one team, and of course the long term, hockey person in me. Yes, I as a Canadian hockey fan, I'd love to see the Canadiens go all the way this year. But that being said, I also I'd hate to see a situation where somebody like Kucherov is not playing.
Right. You and I both want to see the best players play each other and have the best games. I think any true hockey fan wants that. I'm a Montreal Canadiens fan. I make no bones about it. But I think Montreal is a significant underdog in this series. Could they win? Carey Price has stole 3 playoff series so far, so it's quite possible.
Yeah, for sure. So just a another moment for the Islanders. I gotta say, a part of me is sad to see them out of the playoffs. They put on a good run that I don't think people were were really expecting, and um, you know, hats off to them for how they've
That's
done
right.
this playoff.
Well, they're that hardworking blue collar team that everybody wants to cheer for. They didn't have the same star power. Now Matt Barzal is truly a star, but after you get past him, it's not as strong, and you're pulling for guys like Jordan Eberle. You're cheering for Anthony Beauvillier, Cal Clutterbuck, Matt Martin, Leo Komarov, those types of guys to take you forward. Personally, I want to see Barry Trotz do well again. I really like Barry Trotz. I met him at the draft in 2014, and I couldn't have met a nicer gentleman. I came up to him as a fan with my Montreal Canadiens jersey on, and he said, "You got the wrong jersey on. What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm sorry. It's my team." He said, "I'm glad that you're here. Are you having fun?" And he couldn't have been more cordial and just a genuinely nice man. Um, I became quite taken with him. I thought he was a pretty cool dude. So, ever since I've always cheered for him.
Looking ahead to the finals, I think we're going to be. We'll of course do a preview video on the channel, so that will be coming up. Don't want to take too much thunder out of that video, but just a little snapshot, advance teaser, taste of things to come, Paul. If you think that, if you had to make this coming series between Montreal and Tampa, whether it's going to be about a battle between two fantastic goaltenders, you've got the Price versus Vasilevskiy storyline, or you've got the storyline in terms of some of these young guns in Montreal coming up against people like Kucherov and Stamkos and some of the more experienced snipers in Tampa. Do you think it's going to be an offensive battle or a battle of great goaltender standouts?
It's going to be defensive. I think it'll be 1-0, 2-1. 3-2 will probably be the biggest output we'll see, and it'll be a goalie battle between a guy like Vasilevskiy, who is the top goalie right now, versus Carey Price, who this is probably his shot. Let's be honest. Unless Montreal builds on what they've done, and this isn't a fluke, it looks like this is his year. There's some magic there, but the Islanders had some magic too. So we'll see if that's going to run out. This is the first time they're facing a true champion.
And of course, building on that, what you're saying there about it being his shot, potentially his best opportunity to engrave his name on the cup. The fact is, we've commented before on the parity in the league right now, and yeah, I know Tampa Bay is returning to the finals, but how often are teams returning? This generation in the NHL, it's uncommon for a team to to return, back to back years to the finals, and certainly to win back to back. That's pretty rare. I think we've had it once in the last 20 years. I want to say.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, in the cap era, the cap produces parity because you tend to be top heavy on the guys that are your go-to guys, and a lot of these GMs get sucked into paying three or four guys all the money, and then they have to have all these interchangeable parts, and I'm not sure that's conducive to truly being a champion. Um, that's the topic for another video segment. I believe we could get into that there, but I think the cap plays a role in the parity for sure.
Looking forward to a great series coming up with Montreal. Paul, any other thoughts for tonight? Like I say, we'll be doing a preview video on the finals, of course. But any thoughts before we sign off for tonight?
Well, I'm a little disappointed Brayden Point didn't get his last keep the consecutive goal streak going. But he's a great player. He's still got a shot at, I suppose, at getting the total number of goals. I doubt he'll get there because I think it's going to be such a defensive struggle. But we'll see. Brayden Point's a pretty good hockey player. I think everybody recognizes that, whether he had record or no record. He's the spark plug on this team.
All right, well, it should be great finals coming up, and I hope you'll join us here. Each game after each game, we'll be doing a summary, and like I say again, we'll be sure to have a preview video that will be going up in the next day to 2 days in advance of the series starting. So thank you very much for watching.
And don't forget.
Go ahead, Paul.
Sorry, and don't forget. Each episode from now on, I have a feeling, a sneak preview, that the $60,000 question might come up.
Excellent. All right, so we'll also put a link to our website in the description below. Be sure to check that out and give us a thumbs up if you've enjoyed this video. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Take care, guys.